Well, on that note, you may be interested to know that I did attend this trial and got to see some of the arguing and the bickering that went on in the courtroom. And I've got some videotape of that I would like to show you at this moment. So let's take a brief pause, sit back, relax, and let's join Jon Boag at the Santa Ana courtroom.
I'm Jon Boag. I'm here at Superior Court Santa Ana to appear as defendant in a case asking for a temporary restraining order against me by Reverend Gary of Calvary Chapel. Over the years, I've been picketing Calvary Chapel with the message that sacred prostitution, as practiced by Reverend Gary, or the passing of collection plate, is not scriptural. In addition, I have been trying to bring forward the statement that this church is a politically active group that pushes anti-abortion, the pro-life, the anti-gay. The whole agenda is coming out of this organization. Therefore, if they are a political organization, they certainly should be in the public arena and subject to a cross-picket. Hi, I'm Jon Boag, defendant in this case. I've just come out of Superior Court and appeared before Commissioner Paul. At that time, she issued the following restraining order against me. However, admitted from the restraining order is any reference to the church. Therefore, Ms. Polk has given me the opportunity to pick at any church I wish.
You want to make any comment?
No comment.
So Brian, do you understand now that I'm allowed on the church property? Are we clear on this now? Do you have it through your head that I'm allowed on church property and I won't be arrested? You understand that, Brian? You understand it. All right.
Hi, I'm Dwayne Walker here with Jon Boag after his big case in which Calvary Chapel was trying to issue a restraining order on you to keep you from going on the church property and distributing pamphlets. What was the outcome of that?
Well, apparently what the commissioner, Elmer Pock, decided was that I'm allowed to go on the church property and distribute handbills and go into the church itself as long as I don't violate any laws.
You know, one of the amazing things that I thought came out of this trial was there was some haggling toward the middle of it about if this were a business, then they would have the right to restrain you. But because it's a church, and for the first time I'm seeing a lawyer who's representing a religious cause trying to get the judge to look at his church like it's another business. But if they did that, of course, that would mean they would have to start taxing the churches, I guess.
Yeah, I thought that was quite a dichotomy at play there, because all along they are this separate little isolated entity. They're not commerce. They're religion, and they are what they call the sacred cows. And it was ironic that here is the plaintiff's attorney trying to drive a point home that this is a business. Well, it is a business, isn't it? Isn't the collection plate a business? It's a very profitable, non-taxable business. Maybe we should start looking into taxing these businesses.
Certainly, and I think you should know we did try to contact the attorney for Calvary Chapel, but as you can probably see, he didn't want to talk to us. Well, John, how do you feel about the situation today? How do you feel about the judge's verdict?
Well, I was pretty assured that the verdict was going to go my way. And it isn't because I'm a great attorney or anything like that. I'm not an attorney. It's just that we have some great laws, and those laws are called the Constitution. And the First Amendment of free speech and religious free speech isn't first because of coincidence. It's first because our founding fathers thought that religious freedom was extremely important. And today in court, I think the commissioner agreed with us that religious freedom is a very sacred and important constitutional issue.
Well, there you go. Another landmark decision in freedom of speech, as well as in a way for freedom of religion. This is Dwayne Walker from Mars Hill. Well, we're back from that. Jonathan has been given the right to go on church property and hand out his pamphlets. Of course, there is more of the story that will be coming up. But one of the things that I think we hinted on before we went to the Santa Ana courthouse but didn't cover in quite detail, was that the lawyer was actually arguing that churches should be treated as a business. And this was Calvary Chapel's lawyer arguing that.
I know. And, you know, the moving papers that the attorney for the plaintiff had all of Planned Parenthood's arguments of private property. Now, here's a Calvary Chapel, a fundamentalist Christian church, very much anti-abortion, and his attorney, the Calvary Chapel's attorney, is using Planned Parenthood arguments that they used against the anti-abortion pickets. So, you know, it just, they'll use what suits their purpose.
Yeah, it really boggles the mind. So you've got your thing from the judge now, your order that you can go out and pass out your pamphlets on church property, but it's not over. They're repealing this, aren't they, or they're trying to?
Right. What happened was, after getting this and after struggling for 7 years to say, hey, wait a minute, I just, without breaking any laws, I just want to go put my pamphlets on the church parking lot, leave, let the parishioners look at it, and have them decide. It's trash, they like it, they don't like it, I don't care what they do with it. As long as they don't litter the thing, you know, this is constitutionally protected material. But it's an exercise in what they call the private sector free thought. All right? It's not the government that's getting this out. It's the people themselves that are arguing these issues out. The anti-abortion against the pro-choice, and gays against the anti-gays, and so on and so forth. We, through this private sector of arguing out and picketing and everything, have created a situation where whatever the argument might be, we have a better understanding of it because of the activists, because of the Randall Terrys and maybe myself or Gloria Allred or whoever's on the other side, arguing their sides of the story. Through the heat of the battle, and the television, the media, and everything else, people become more and more informed. And the hotter that battle gets, the more truthful the end product is, because we're getting both sides. It's like melting gold, and the higher the temperature, the more pure and the beautiful the gold will be. The same way when the argument of whatever the issues might be, as long as people can see both sides of it, they can determine themselves.
You know, you brought up a real interesting point. Randall Terry is known for making militant statements like, if we really believe that abortion is murder, we should treat it as such. And a lot of the mainstream churchgoers, and I use the term mainstream loosely, it can mean people from Calvary Chapel or whatever group, will look upon them and say, well, yeah, we believe it's murder, but we don't believe that we should be going around trying to, you know, march around the clinics or even bombing the clinics or whatnot. You know, you're an extremist and that kind of thing. But yet, he's being very militant and staying close to his beliefs, even though people who have his agenda are knocking him for his extremism. In your role as an activist, going out there, handing out these pamphlets and making these pointed statements and that kind of things, do you ever have a problem with people who may believe as you believe, but yet think you're going a little bit too far and a little bit over the limb?
I think, as a purist, as far as constitutional rights go, I believe that you have the right to say anything. However, there are some restrictions, and even as purist as I am on the Constitution, I believe that there's some restrictions. You cannot go into a crowded theater and yell fire and then create damage by people trampling each other. That definitely is not free speech, but a malicious free speech where people get hurt. Anything outside of that, I believe, is fair game. Why shouldn't I be able to go on the parking lot and accuse the Reverend Ruggieri or whoever, Chuck Smith or whoever these anointed ones are, of sacred prostitution? Is that pornography? Am I causing a stampede? No, no. It's constitutionally protected material. So I believe that not only do I have a right to do that, But with the knowledge I have of these born-again cults like Calvary in Waco, Texas, I would be remiss in my duty if I didn't go out and inform the public of the dangers of these organizations. Look what they did to me.
Yeah, and inform is the key word here. I mean, for instance, you wouldn't necessarily be in favor of doing, say, what a group of, I really don't know who they were because we haven't yet determined that, but back during the big Operation Rescue days when they were doing rescuing here in California, there was a group that went to Melody Land where they were meeting, and they threw bags of manure into the audience, and then they wrote spray-painted graffiti on there.
Right.
Would you draw the line at something like that?
I certainly would. You know, I'm not into disrupting services. I'm into the message. And I think these people do great harm to their cause when they throw manure, or in the case of the ACT UP, the gay activists in New York, when they threw tainted blood in St. Patrick's Cathedral. That's just not, that's not going to help your cause, and it's not where I'm at all. It's the message, just a little pamphlet, the message. You know, this church is guilty of not only sacred prostitution, but look at Jimmy Swaggart. I mean, look at the stories about Jimmy Swaggart. Certainly the press was doing the right thing by exposing that. And that's just what I'm trying to do, is expose these religious cults like Calvary for what they really are. They're cults. They're very much into the money, and they have an underbelly that's very similar to the mafia. The way the hit goes down is Chuck Smith will say something to the effect to Romaine, his lieutenant, who's a former Marine. Well, that Jonathan Boag, he has to be taken care of, you know, the guy's gone over to Satan, see what we can do. He wouldn't say go out and blow Boag's truck up, but he would pass the word until somebody along the line, a born-again crazy, picks up the word that Chuck Smith thinks that Jonathan Boag's satanic and has gone off on the other side. Well, what do we do with Satan? We attack Satan. So somebody took the message and somebody took it to me, and that was the truck bombing, and that was my business being blown up. But somebody's also taken it to me in the district attorney's office, because there's another way of suppressing free thinking in my thought process. Not only can you put the fear of being injured, but you can also put the fear of being placed in jail. And that's where the district attorney's office is. If you do this one more time, Mr. Boag, you're going to go in for 3 years, and we're going to put you on probation, and so on and so forth. So that's the power of the district attorney to represent the people of the state of California, to put me in jail, and that certainly has shut my mouth lately, I'll tell you that.
Well, we're down to our last minute here. I'm sure many people are wondering, does Jon Boag want to eradicate Christianity from the earth? What is your answer to that one?
No, not hardly. Not hardly. I just don't want Christianity, and especially fundamentalist Christian, telling me how to believe. If they want to be the incubator of ideas on the Christian side, the political agenda, then they're that aircraft carrier in which they launch all the attacks. Then they better watch out, because this Marine will be attacking their aircraft carriers legally.
Well, on that note, we will end this. I'd like to thank Jonathan Boag for showing up here and telling us a little bit of his story. Good luck in your continuing saga. Wish you all the best in your court cases. That's all the time we have. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Mars Hill.